formal installation ceremony. It's my pleasure to welcome co-chairs of our installation weekend, Courtney and Rob Fishman, and Emery.
Shabbat Shalom. We are thrilled and honored to be here today speaking on the occasion of Rabbi Jacob's installation as assistant rabbi of our congregation. When we began our search for a new assistant rabbi 2 years ago, we were acutely aware of the importance of finding the right person to fill this role. Our congregation was at a critical point in our history, and we needed someone who could help our clergy team in leading our congregation through this time of transition and opportunity. My dad, Michael Linden, led our synagogue's last assistant rabbi search over 20 years ago, and I think we can all agree that turned out pretty well. So, needless to say, the pressure was on for me to follow suit.
Courtney and the search committee interviewed a lot of candidates, and she was generally impressed by the rabbis and rabbinic students whom they met. But the day she closed her computer, after that her initial Zoom interview with Rabbi Jacobs was special. Courtney walked away from that meeting visibly excited, inspired, and spiritually lifted. From my perspective, it was clear their committee had just met someone who our synagogue would be privileged to hire. Rabbi Jacobs and Rabbi Alex's first visit to B'nai Yeshurun was an incredible weekend, filled with learning, engagement, and prayer. What stood out to me was Rabbi Jacobs' ability to almost immediately connect with people. My own attendance at events that weekend was unfortunately limited, as I had to stay home with our daughter, Emery, who happened to be sick. However, I was able to attend Sunday morning minyan and was quite taken aback when Rabbi Jacobs came over to me with a warm greeting and asked how my daughter was feeling. He had not yet even met her, but he remembered her name. I can barely remember the names of people I've met 100 times. In just that one exchange, I could see how much people mean to Rabbi Jacobs, and I think our congregation has continued to see that throughout his time thus far.
It was such a pleasure to meet Rabbi Jacobs' parents when they visited B'nai Yeshurun over Sukkot. At Kiddush in our congregation's sukkah, Rabbi Jacobs' dad asked me, why did I hire his son? In the moment, I was feeling a bit overwhelmed meeting the man who created my husband's first true love, Topanga. So I gave an answer that was mediocre at best. Well, I still don't have enough time right now to provide an adequate answer to the question, but I hope the words we're sharing today provide some enlightenment. To put it simply, though, we hired your son because he's very special. He inspires us with his Torah. He provides comfort and compassion when it's needed most. He makes connections with everyone he meets. We honestly felt like Rabbi Jacobs and Rabbi Alex became members of our family before they even returned to California after that very first visit. We are so grateful that they now call Cleveland and B'nai Yeshurun home. Rabbi Jacobs, or Rabbi JJ, as our children so lovingly call you, Mazel Tov on this very special occasion to you and to all of us.
Rabbi Jacobs, congratulations on your installation as our congregation's associate rabbi. It's hard to believe it's already been a year since you joined us, and yet somehow it feels like so much longer than that, because you're such a natural fit with our community, our members, and our values. And the transition to having you on board has been just positively seamless. I've had the pleasure of seeing your professional development up on the Bima every Shabbos, and how much you've grown into the position in just such a short time. And I love watching you, Rabbi Hal, and Cantor work together to give everyone a meaningful and uplifting experience. You're an integral part of the new energy that permeates our entire institution on the Bima, on and off, in every facet of synagogue life, and I am very excited to see what the future will hold as you spread your wings and fully embrace the position. On a personal level, I also want you to know how much I've enjoyed getting to know you over our coffees and our breakfast meetings, and I'm proud to call you both my rabbi and my new friend. I'd also be remiss if I didn't also take time to recognize Rabbi Rosenbaum. I know how hard you have worked to conceptualize and implement J-Well, our shul's new wellness center. And while J-Well is not yet fully operational, it is already having an amazing impact on our community, both synagogue members and the broader Jewish Cleveland. The Wellness Center is just one more way in which B'nai Yeshurun continues to be a thought leader for what conservative Judaism is and should be in the next generation. And together with Rabbi Jacobs, your respective contributions to B'nai Yeshurun have been immeasurable, and we are all grateful for both of your contributions. But frankly, I expected no less. Like Courtney, I was blown away when we interviewed both of you during the search committee process, which is why I immediately nicknamed you the dynamic duo to the search committee, because that really is what you are, and you've more than lived up to that billing, the two of you. May you each go from strength to strength. Mazel tov, and frankly, thank you both for choosing us for your first synagogue home. Good Shabbos.
Before I share my formal remarks that I wrote, I feel that there is some synergy about this moment and the history of our synagogue, where we are and where we're going. This Shabbat, we mark the yortzeit of Rabbi Rosenthal of blessed memory, really our most legendary rabbi of our congregation. Last Shabbat, I sat in the apartment of Dr. Lifsa Schachter in Jerusalem and had an afternoon to share with her where our synagogue is and where it is going, and to share our love from all of us to her. And she really is so excited for our congregation and where it's going, and she really wanted to bless this moment. And lastly, I want to also to share that the book that I used to bless baby Noah, to name her, was Rabbi Hecht's rabbi book. And so there's some synergy about Rabbi Hecht, Rabbi Schachter, Rabbi Rosenthal being here in this moment as we truly move forward as a congregation. Today is a very special day for our congregation, and we say there's no such thing as coincidence. We believe in bashert. This week's Torah portion, we read the famous spy story. And who is the hero of our spy story? Who is the one who stands up and leads the people? Who's the one that speaks truth and hope and optimism and blessing? Joshua, Yehoshua. Perhaps the ancestor of our own Rabbi Joshua Jacobs, our most amazing assistant rabbi, our teacher, our counselor, our spiritual advisor, and our friend. In the Torah, it is Joshua who is chosen to be Moses' assistant and the later successor. Josh, don't get any ideas so fast. As we install Rabbi Jacobs as our assistant rabbi, we are truly celebrating who we are as a congregation. We're celebrating the incredible clergy team and collaborative partnership we share with Rabbi Alex and Rabbi Jacobs, really what I call the Fab Five, including Cantor, Rabbi Foster, Rabbi Alex, Rabbi Jacobs, and myself. Along with our amazing staff, our dedicated leadership, our inspired volunteers, today is more than a day to celebrate one rabbi alone. Today is about celebrating who we are as a community and where we're going together. Our portion opens up identifying those scouts, who will be the ones who will lead us. And the Torah says what type of scout we should be looking for and uses the word anashim, which means people. There, the rabbis say, who are the ones who are supposed to lead us? The first is that they should be giborim. They should be brave and strong. They should be heroes. And as we heard last night from Rabbi Feinstein, our Jewish leaders today need to be brave. They need to be courageous. They need to take stands and to guide us passionately and strongly. And I think that's Rabbi Jacobs. The next thing is that they should be chashuvim. They should be important and relevant. They should speak to today and guide us, be moral leaders. And I think, again, Rabbi Jacobs, you bring relevant Torah. You speak to us and speak to the moment. And lastly, the word anashim truly just means people, but the rabbis say that it means to be a mensch. And Rabbi Jacobs, you are strong, you're passionate, but you're also, most importantly, a mesh. You're kind and compassionate. You always have your eyes open to see who is in need of support and care. So Josh, you are our scout, our leader, also called Nasi, you are our prince. I value the relationship we've built in this first year together, to workshop and to challenge each other, to dream together for what our congregation can be, the opportunity to be your mentor and partner, to see how you have already created something very special for our congregation and community, and through your work downtown with the bridge. And even just this past week, you hosted 9 newlywed couples at a winery, couples that have not at all been connected to our congregation, but perhaps their opportunity to be married. But as soon as their marriage happened, they have not had any connection with this congregation anymore. And you're cultivating them. You're bringing them together to create their own community and also guiding them as a rabbi in all those ways that we said. The other scout that's mentioned that's good is Caleb. He is described as having ruach acheret, a special ruach, a special spirit. Ubelibo haya lomar ha'emet, and that his heart speaks truth. Josh, you truly have a ruach acheret, a special spirit. And that your heart speaks truth, it inspires us to speak truth, to connect with Judaism for each individual way, to light their internal Jewish flame and inspire them. So today, Josh, we celebrate your unique ability to lead with kindness and your depth of soul, to build relationships, to lift us up when we're down, to teach and preach with that Torah and humor and story, to lift us up, to inspire us to have more passion for Israel and to make our world better. It is my honor to call you my rabbi, my friend, and my partner. Mazel tov. And now it's my honor to call our guest scholar and speaker, Rabbi Ed Feinstein. I'm not going to read you his full biography, but I will say this. Rabbi Feinstein is a master rabbi, one of the leading conservative rabbis, and really just truly rabbis in America. His pulpit is Valley Beth Shalom in Los Angeles, where Rabbi Jacobs grew up. This is Rabbi Jacobs' home rabbi from his own congregation as well. Rabbi Feinstein is a lecturer across the world, including a professor at the rabbinical school at Ziegler, where Rabbi Jacobs and Rabbi Alex studied. It is our honor to have a master rabbi, master storyteller, master preacher, and a wonderful friend, Rabbi Ed Feinstein. Your choice of mics. If you lean in.
This one works? Okay. Shabbat Shalom. I want to thank you so very, very much for welcoming Nina and I to this wonderful community and for this very special moment. I teach the last class in the rabbinical school. It's called Senior Homiletics. I teach rabbis how to put Jews to sleep. Joshua and Alex, along with Rabbi Jensen, who's our guest this weekend, were students of mine, spectacular students. But actually, I've known Joshua a lot longer than that because he's been part of my life. His family's been part of my life since we arrived in that community in California in 1990. And I've watched him grow into this wonderful human being. And so it is a particular honor to share these moments with you. My first job as a rabbi, a graduate of the Jewish Theological Seminary, I was sent to Dallas, Texas, to a large community which was building a day school. And I was to be the founding director of the day school. Our school had a little nursery school and a kindergarten and a first grade, and I took it beyond that into middle school. My first week as a rabbi, my wife sent me to the Tom Thumb supermarket to pick up a few things. And I was walking down the aisle of the supermarket with a gallon of milk in one hand and an ice cream in the other, and there was a mom pushing a shopping cart with a little kid in the jump seat coming opposite me, and he was one of my kids. And he saw me coming toward him, and his mouth dropped open, and he said, "Look, Mom, it's God!" Now, actually, he's not wrong. He's not wrong because we imagine God and we appropriate religion and tradition and faith in the character of the person who teaches us God. The God we worship wears the face of that person for the rest of our lives. And so, if that person is cold and distant and forbidding, then we are cursed to have that God as part of our lives for the rest of our lives. And we look upon tradition as something distant and unwelcoming. But if that person is warm and kind and compassionate and genuine, then we are blessed to worship that God for the rest of our lives. We are blessed with a God who cares, who is concerned, who is connected, a God who protects us and enlightens us and inspires us. That's what's at stake in choosing a rabbi for a congregation. Sure, we want someone who has organizational skills and administrative acumen. Sure, we want someone who can raise funds at the appropriate moment. We even want someone who's a great orator and perhaps a great prayer leader. All of that is fine. But the most important quality of a person you choose as your rabbi is the qualities you want your children to appropriate when they think of Torah and they think of tradition and they worship God. So fundamentally, he does not belong to you. He belongs to them. He belongs to the next generation of this congregation. He belongs to your children and to your children's children. Because when they go to sleep at night and say Shema Yisrael, and when they wake in the morning and say Moda Ani, and when they have need and pain and suffering, when they have joy and celebration and exaltation, the God they will come close to is going to speak in this boy's voice with his kindness and his compassion and his wisdom. And God, how lucky you are, and how lucky the children of your community that the God they worship will answer them in the voice of Joshua Jacobs. You have chosen so very, very, very well. You have chosen so very, very well because of all the qualities that Rabbi Hal outlined. There is one more I would add to the list. At this moment in our history, at this painful, fraught, and difficult moment in our history, what we need most right now are rabbis who possess a profound Jewish imagination, We are a community, we are a people that reveres tradition. We look back to Torah, we look back to Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka and Rachel and Leah and Yaakov. We look back to Moses and Aaron, Isaiah and Jeremiah. We look back to Hillel and Shammai, to Rabbi Akiva. We look back to Rashi and the Rambam and the Besht. We look back to our tradition for a sense of our truth and our authenticity. That's what gives us a sense of who we are, a deep and abiding sense of where we've come from. But there are moments in our history when we must look forward. There are moments in our history when we must begin a new process of reimagining what we are and who we are and where we're going. And that quality, to envision a future that might actually be different from our past, this moment, this after October 7th moment, this moment of Jewish modernity, this moment in the 21st century, which is so remarkably different from anything that has come before, that is what this moment demands of us. And we should not be afraid of this. There are 613 mitzvot in the Torah. You know that. The first one, what's the first one? Pru urevu, be fruitful and multiply. Mazel tov, you've done it. And she's so cute. What is the last one? What is the 613th mitzvah? The end of the book of Devarim, that each and every Jew in each and every generation must write their own Torah. And the rabbis of the, thank you. And the rabbis of the tradition asked, what does that mean by that, to write your own Torah? And they decided it does not mean to copy out the one that is in the ark. Moses gave us that Torah. You and I, our generation, must write a Torah for this moment, a Torah for now. From Pru Urevu, bring forth a biological future. To write your own Torah, bring forth a spiritual future. This tradition has always faced forward. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, sing to God a new song, taught Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah Brachos. It isn't enough to simply read the words in the prayer book. Ha'oseh mitfilato keva eno tachnunim, to simply read the book, to read the prayers in the prayer book, that's not prayer. One must pray from one's heart. The Gemara goes on to say what he meant by that was we must bring something new each and every time we come to pray. We are a tradition that reveres the past. But we are also a tradition that understands how to celebrate and exalt the future. We are a tradition that reveres tradition. But we are also a people that understands the necessity of innovation, reinvention, reimagination, originality, creativity. And that's what this moment of our collective history demands. And that's what this young man brings to the world, to the Jewish people, and to your community. Our great teacher, a great rabbi named Harold Schulweis, who was my mentor and teacher, as well as Rabbi Jacobs, used to say to us all the time, don't ask what the synagogue is. Ask what it ought to be. Don't ask what the Jewish people is. Ask what we ought to be. Don't ask what the state of Israel is. Ask what it ought to be. And don't ask what I as a Jew am. Don't ask what is a Jew. Ask what should a Jew be. That kind of thinking, forward thinking, that is what we are. That is who we are. And what this beautiful young rabbi brings, along with his compassion, and along with his learning, and along with his wonderful sense of humor, and along with all of the abilities that he has gathered over the years of his life, what he brings to us is a profoundly powerful Jewish imagination to lead us in a conversation, young and old together. What should we be? What should prayer be? What should Torah teach? What should Israel be? What should this country be? Who shall we be? That courage to think new, to innovate and experiment, you have to support him in that. And now I give you my plea and my charge to you. Let him experiment. Let him innovate. Let him create. Let him try things out. And let me tell you something. When you encourage experimentation, you have to make a pledge. Let him fail. In my synagogue, we have a very simple rule, and he learned it when he worked for me for 2 years. You don't know how to do anything until you've messed it up 3 times. The first time, it's going to rain. That was last night. The second time, it's not going to go so well. It isn't until the third time that you figure out how to do something. That's today's Torah portion. Moshe took the people out of Egypt and discovered, this ain't going to work. I need 40 years. You don't get 40 years. But you do get a chance to make a mistake or two. And this community promises to support you and to love you and to help you along that way. And what comes out of that is something beautiful, remarkable, original, creative, and new. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May God only make it so. The wonderful story of the Torah you all know. Moshe comes up to the top of Mount Sinai, ready to receive God's Torah, and he sees God writing out the Torah, and the letters of the Torah have these little decorations on them. They're called in Hebrew tagim. They're called in Yiddish chupchikim. These little crowns on the decorations. And Moshe says to God, what are you doing that for? Why does the Torah need to have aesthetic little crowns on the top of the Torah? And God says, because there will be a rabbi coming generations from now named Rabbi Akiva, and he's going to gather baskets of halacha, baskets of learning, even from the little crowns on the letters. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, let me see him. God says, turn around, and suddenly Moshe finds himself sitting in the last row of Rabbi Akiva's academy. And the rabbis are discussing some important part of law, and poor Moshe doesn't understand what they're talking about. Until one of the students says, where do you know this from, Rebbe? And he looks at him and says, why? This is Torah, halacha leMoshe mitzinai. This is the Torah that Moses got at Mount Sinai. And Moses found peace because he understood that he was only the beginner. And that what he did is not give us a Torah. He gave us a Torah and permission to create Torah, to find heaps of meanings in each of the decorations, each of the curlicues of the calligraphy, each of the syllables and each of the words, and even in the spaces between the words. That is the charge to every rabbi, but most particularly a young rabbi in this moment of our history. Find the new Torah. Meaning that is yet uncovered and undiscovered, truth that this community thirsts for, the power of spirit hidden within the space between the letters and the curlicues of the calligraphy. Find that Torah. That is halacha leMoshe miSinai. It is a privilege to be here this Shabbos to offer prayers on behalf of my dear, dear, dear student and friend. I would like to ask everyone in this community to please rise. I'd like to ask the president of the synagogue and the chair people of the search committee to come forward to open the ark and remove the Sefer Torah for us. Come and take the Sefer Torah, please. Joshua, stand here. You still have to listen to me. You're not done yet. Alex, come stand with Josh. Rabbi Hal. Where's Rabbi Hal? Oh, he's staying in the Torah. Not yet. I'll tell you when. Come and stand with us, please. Leave the ark open. Come on down. like to respectfully ask if there are any members of the board of directors of this community to please come forward and stand on the steps behind us. Anyone of the leadership, the governors of this congregation, to come and stand on the steps. Any former presidents of the community or presidents of the sisterhood, come on down and stand on the steps behind us, please. Hand them the Torah. Men's Club, come on down. Sorry. Come on down, stand on the steps behind us. Turn around, face the community.
That was great. Not Richard Douglas.
Come on down. All you kids, come on over here. This rabbi's yours. Come on over here. Rabbi Foster, please join us here. Rabbi Jensen, please join us here. I think Rabbi Carney Rose is with us from the JCC. Carney, if you're still here, come on down. Join us here. Any other rabbis in the room? Come on down. All the rabbis, come on down. I don't know all of you. Cantor.
All the rabbis.
Cantor,
Rabbi
come on down.
Latovsky.
Come on down.
Cantor Stein.
Cantor Stein. There's always a Cantor Goldberg in this community. Patty and Michael, Bruce and Sharon, come stand with your kid. I will in a minute. I understand there's a very special group of people who are the morning minion people. So you come on down too. Come on, all the morning minion people. Come on down. Come on. Come on down. Now, here's a tradition. Put your hand on your kid's head. Come on. Bruce, Sharon, come on over. Put your hand on your kid's head. Get your hand on their heads. Everyone should have their hand on someone who's got their hand on a rabbi. You do too. Yishaberach Avotenu Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. Hu yivarech Morenu Harav, Yoshua ben Michael v'Chana, asher Allah likvod hamakom, likvod haTorah, v'likvod haShabbat. Ve'asher Allah lahadrich et kila kedosha zo be'ikvot hamisorah bechochma hamisoret haTorah ve'hatarbut shalanu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei libo im chochma v'yirah v'yimalei kol misalot libo im kol Yisrael achav v'nomar amen. May the source of blessings for the generations before us bless and sustain this young rabbi, Rabbi Yoshua ben Michael v'Chana, who stands before this community together with his beloved wife, Rabbi Alex, Morateno Rabbi Alex, together with all who lead this wonderful community in his pledge to share Torah, in his pledge to share truth, in his pledge to share compassion, in his pledge to share prayer, in his pledge to share with us the greatness of his heart, the power of his mind, the strength of his person, and the sweetness of his soul. May God bless him and protect him. Fill his heart with the wisdom of our people. Fill his hands with the strength of our heroes. May God fulfill all the wishes and dreams of his heart, and all the things that he undertakes. May they bring light and joy to this community. And together we say, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu hazman hazeh. Amen. Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Yahaylanu, 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 Ulecha Yisrael, oh Yahaylanu, Yahaylanu, Ulecha Yisrael. Oy David Melech Yisrael Chai v'kayam. David Melech
Yisrael. Ay, 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 Simon, Simon Tov. Ay, 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 Mazal, Mazal Tov. Oh, Yehei Lanu Lechol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru Amen. Don't kill the rabbi. Simon, Simon Tov. Ay, 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 Mazal. Oh, Yehei Lanu Lechol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru Amen. David Melech, Melech Israel. David Melech, Melech Israel. David Melech, Melech Israel. Chai v'kayam. David Melech. Melech Israel. David Melech, Melech Israel. Chai v'kayam. Ay, ay, Simon, Simon Tov. Ay, 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 Mazal, Mazal Tov. Oh, Yehei Lanu Lechol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru Amen. Mazal Tov.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're afraid. All for you.
Whatever you say, we'll love it. Don't worry.
Instead of PR today. Oh my God. That's good. That's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Please be seated. Josh, we have a small gift for you. Our B'nai Yisrael in Israel Solidarity Mission was tasked with many things. I'll be sharing our stories of our mission next week on Shabbat. But we were also tasked with getting a little piece of Israel to give to you for this moment. So both for your office as well as for Rabbi Alex's office, we found pieces of art that match together on Nachalat Binyamim, Tel Aviv's Sidewalk Art Show. And these are both one-of-a-kind pieces from an Israeli artist, Norit Shudesky. And for you, it is a Jerusalem scene for your office, for the central place that Israel is in your life and in your rabbinate. And for Rabbi Alex, it is a special piece featuring rimonim, pomegranates, and chamsa for wellness. So you'll take a look at this later, or hopefully find a special place in your office, and it's on behalf of our synagogue leadership.
Thank you, everyone. I truly just cannot tell you what I'm feeling and what this moment means. And I just am so privileged and honored to be able to serve this community. There's nothing like this community and these people. And I just am so privileged to be in this place where I get to continue to deepen our relationships and to serve you. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Rabbi Feinstein. I just can't even begin to express what it means to have you here to do this. Both you and Rabbi Nina Beaver Feinstein. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Rabbi Feinstein and Rabbi Beaver Feinstein. Not just for flying out and not just for sharing such gorgeous words to install me,
but for being my rabbinic role models and mentors, for igniting in me a love of Judaism and a reverence for what rabbis, for what rabbinic couples can do and be in the world, for setting me down a path that's led to this moment. I grew up at your synagogue. I was a kid sitting crisscross applesauce on a rug, hearing you tell stories from our tradition and from your own mind in a way that moved me from the moment a child can be moved by stories. You made them funny. You made them come alive. You helped me understand the morals they contain. Like this one that's always stayed with me. There's a cruise ship, and everyone's having a great time, except no one pays regard to one another. They can't see past the limits of their own purview. They're concerned only with themselves. A stranger who needs help is met with a dispassionate, "Why should I help her? She's not my problem." The captain sees this and decides to do something about it. He starts drilling a hole in the bottom of the ship, which understandably makes the passengers utsy. "Are you crazy?" they cry. "Well, I'll drown." "Huh," the rabbi responds. "Well, that's not my problem." "Sure it is," they reply. "Oh," says the captain, "and why is that?" The desperate chorus responds, "Because we're all in the same boat." As I grew, children's stories became adult sermons, which are stories by another name. And while the sophistication of content leveled up, the underlying message always seemed to remain the same. We're all in the same boat. All of Torah might just be an affirmative response to the question Cain asks after murdering his brother Abel, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Your most recent teaching, Rabbi Feinstein, which you delivered just this morning at our Torah Cafe, was about the spies in this week's Torah portion. They're sent to Eretz Yisrael latur, to spy out, or literally to tour, the promised land and to see what kind of land it is, good or bad. And what of the inhabitants? Are they strong or weak? Rabbi Alex and I arrived here last year in many ways as tourists. Even though Rabbi Alex grew up here, even though she was set on her own rabbinic path, thanks to the strength of the Cleveland Jewish community, her family, her education, and her mentors here, but still, we were new to the role of rabbi. We were new to Cleveland as adults, and certainly we were new to B'nai Yeshurun, strangers to 900 families. And what we've learned in this past year in Cleveland is that B'nai Yeshurun is an exceedingly good land. Its inhabitants are strong, and perhaps your greatest strength is your loving compassion toward one another. This isn't a cruise ship, and this is not a cruise ship where we're tourists who treat one another as strangers passing through. This is a home where we treat one another as family. So I don't need to drill a hole in nothing. When one of you experiences pain or loss, another quickly jumps in to offer chesed, loving kindness, with an urgency born of a sense of personal responsibility, a sense of being our brother and our sister's keeper. Today, Rabbi Alex and I officially stop being tourists. Like the two spies who come back and say, "What are we waiting for? We've arrived. We're home." Rabbi Alex and I are ready to settle, to cleave to the land, to put down roots, and proudly carry around our bundle of grapes, big for her age, who we call Noah. We stop being tourists when we enter into a relationship and get to truly know one another. So I want to take just a moment to tell you who I am and the vision I hope to bring to my rabbinate here, which starts with my parents, whom I also blame for turning me into a rabbi. Thank you both for flying in on your birthday, Dad, no less, to support us and share our joy. My father is a writer. He creates and tells stories that uplift, inspire, and entertain. Like Rabbi Feinstein, he believes that the most powerful vehicle for a good idea is story, and his stories communicate life lessons and values that challenge us to be our best selves, that fill us with a sense of optimism, hope, and purpose. My mother is a doctor. She's a healer. She holds the hands of the sick and dying. She listens deeply and carefully to their stories so that they feel honored, heard, and understood, which might just be the greatest gift you can give another person. She addresses brokenness of body and soul with kindness, compassion, and an endless depth of learning and life-saving skill. Raised by these two parents, I knew early on that I wanted to be a rabbi because I wanted to tell good stories too, and Torah is the best story there is. I wanted to accompany others on their path of healing. I wanted to offer spiritual and emotional comfort in times of personal crisis and distress. In order to briefly share my vision of my rabbinate with you, I have to go back to that moment where Cain first experiences the jealous urge to kill his brother Abel. God says to him, "Halo im tetiv seit, vim lo tetiv, lapetach chatat robetz, ve'alecha teshukato ve'ata timshal bo." Surely if you do right, there is uplift. But if you do not do right, sin couches at the door, its urge is to you, but thou mayest rule over it. John Steinbeck, not quite Rashi, but showed real potential, offered his own interpretation of this verse in his novel of that phrase, V'ata timshal bo. In his book, East of Eden, he writes, "Thou mayest. Why, that makes a man great. For in his weakness and his filth and his murder of his brother, he has still the great choice. He can choose his course and fight through and win. You can never lose that. It cuts the feet from under weakness and cowardliness and laziness. I have a new love for that glittering instrument, the human soul. It is a lovely and unique thing in the universe. It is always attacked and never destroyed because thou mayest." That's the vision I hold dear, to respond to the impenetrable darkness and pessimism of our times with a resilient and ever hopeful belief that thou mayest. Ata timshal bo. We might see ourselves as mere grasshoppers up against giant obstacles that threaten to overtake us, but we can always opt for faith. We can accept God's invitation to rule over evil forces which abound. Loneliness and social isolation, purposelessness, and the thirst for meaning in a chaotic world. Rising anti-Semitism that is more extreme and threatening than I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Declining membership among young Jews from synagogues and Jewish institutions, you name it. But as long as we recognize that we're all in the same boat, that we're not mere tourists, but are our brother and our sister's keeper, that we are armed with the glittering instrument of the human soul, then there's nothing we can't accomplish together. This year, thanks to the generosity of Nedra in loving memory of her beloved Morton Radsky, we revived our Sunshine Committee, which brings B'nai Yeshurun to our members living in residential facilities through learning, song, and caring company through our overall Chesed initiatives led by Rachel Stewart. In partnership with The Bridge, our young professional group, we bring now wine, cheese, and Torah into the homes of young professionals living downtown. And on the west side, we sit and discuss relevant topics through the lens of Torah, helping others discover a love of Judaism and learning which they may never have known that they have. We're building and growing a newlyweds group, as Rabbi Hal mentioned, which continues to grow and flourish. We're slowly but surely working to adopt a Ukrainian refugee family because our Jewish boat extends even to distant shores. We're advancing our sustainability initiatives. You'll notice compost bins, which, though incredibly confusing, is a small but very substantial step toward demonstrating our commitment to being stewards of God's garden and partners with the next generation who inherit the world we leave them. We're also working to address food insecurity, criminal justice, and other projects through our Tzedek Committee. And just one more program of so many dear to my heart, our Thursday Lunch and Learn continues to grow and build community through deep learning, discussion, and delicious food. I can't tell you how excited I am to grow the impact of these and other initiatives and see them thrive. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to my installation committee and to its chairs for the many hours of work and vision you poured into this joyous weekend. Thank you to Shani Kadis and Lorna Siegel for the labor of love that this weekend is, for working tirelessly to make sure everything goes meaningfully and smoothly. Thank you to Rabbi Feinstein and Rabbi Bieber Feinstein for flying out to install this rabbi you made. Thank you to Scott Matazar for your bold and dedicated leadership as president, for your firm and oft-reiterated support and guidance. Thank you to Rabbi Hal and to my fellow clergy for teaching me how to actually rabbi and lead from a place of profound care, concern, and boundless passion for the Jewish community and the Jewish soul. I couldn't ask for a better mentor and friend in you. Thank you to Jay Ross and the magnificent B'nai Yeshurun staff, who are the best partners in this work I could ask for. Thank you to my search committee chairs for taking a chance on Rabbi Alex and me, and for thinking creatively about how to make B'nai Yeshurun home to both of us. Thank you all for not only your support, but for your friendship. Thank you to my family by blood and by marriage, to my parents and to my in-laws, to aunts, uncles, and cousins who have flown in to share this moment, the Rosenbaum, Joel, and Nalabatsky families. And while I wish that my parents lived here too, I think we're trying to make the case. This whole thing is... I can't overstate the extent to which the love and support of my in-laws has set us up for the greatest possible success and true happiness here in Cleveland. Thank you for the enduring thank you for enduring the emotional whiplash of celebrating us even in the immediate aftermath of losing our beloved Cecil Joel, whose funeral you just attended in Cape Town, but still managed to join us this weekend. Lastly, but not leastly, thank you to Rabbi Alex and to baby Noah. Alex, I fell in love with you first by falling in love with your Torah. You're my greatest teacher. And my success, any success I enjoy as a rabbi is a direct result of what I learned from you, from your brilliance, and from your sensitivity. Thank you for your endless support and generosity of spirit as we navigate our new positions as rabbis and as parents. To return to Rabbi Feinstein's teaching, when I met you, I stopped being a tourist and found my promised land was you. Thank you to my entire B'nai Yeshurun family for celebrating this milestone together, for inviting me to take part in your joys and in your sorrows, and for blessing me with your friendship and trust. Shabbat Shalom.